actually going to put my neck on the line, and I might even look into the camera and say, say this. I think Anthony Joshua beats Tyson Fury. I think so.
It seems right now that boxing fans are so spoilt by the action taking place that they're even looking beyond the undisputed heavyweight world title fight between Tyson Fury and Oleksandr Usyk. Before May 18, we're already discussing the possibility that instead of a rematch, we're talking about the idea that Anthony Joshua, after 2 incredible knockout victories, is waiting in the wings to step in and fight the winner. Whether that would mean the rematch between Fury and Usyk happens at a later date, or that the breaking up at the belts means undisputed not being on the table anymore matters, is up for debate, and Turkey al-Sheikh in Saudi Arabia to make his decisions. But what is on the table after comments from Bob Arum and Eddie Hearn, and I'm sure Frank Warren very soon, is the real possibility. And despite him picking AJ to win a narrow points decision over Francis Ngannou, I am going to come to this man for his opinion. Listen, working in it and watching it as a fan, it's so exciting to see the fights we want to see happening. Are we getting a bit greedy, or is it the parts are moving so fast that it's almost sensible to start talking about AJ getting in the mix for a title shot again?
I think we're putting the cart before the horse when it comes to this one. Like, Tyson Fury has one of the stiffest tests in his career in Oleksandr Usyk coming up. But I understand why boxing fans are getting excited. Obviously, they're seeing the little viral clips from Eddie Hearn, who bizarrely told Piers Morgan that the fight between AJ and Fury would happen before Luke Littler wins the World Dart Championship. I can understand why they're getting excited. And then I think it was Bob Arum who spoke to another outlet who said that, yeah, it's also a possibility. But realistically, I don't think the fight's going to happen this year unless Turkey al-Sheikh was to get out his checkbook and give Oleksandr Usyk some step-aside money and to say, look, you're guaranteed to fight the winner of this fight. We just want to make this fight happen in the here and now. Would I be excited for it? Of course, absolutely buzzing. I mean, it's been the biggest fight in boxing for what arguably the best part of 10 years, right? I'd say 10 years, you could say that. And the biggest fight in the history of British boxing, 2 heavyweights. So I'm excited for it. I'm excited for the prospect. I'm just not excited yet for it coming to fruition in 2024.
One of the reasons that I think might edge us towards believing that it could happen would be that the 4 belts that are on the line on May 18, will they still be on the line for this rematch? Now, to get this fight made, I think there was about 18 months of negotiations between Fury and Team Usyk, the absolute turgid turmoil we went through to get it. And a huge factor of that was a rematch. So contractually, there is a rematch. And the percentage for the winner of the rematch and for the loser of the rematch is all arranged. But I do think that if that fight happens on May 18 and we get the first undisputed guy for 25 years, are the 4 sanctioning bodies going to sit around and wait for the loser to recover, to then go into another camp? Or are they going to start saying, Filip Hrgovic has been sitting on the sidelines for the IBF for a long time. Daniel Dubois has worked his way up there. Joe Joyce sat around for a long time. Zhang jumped in. Parker's now beaten Zhang. I'm not sure. I have a feeling that those belts will fragment after May 18. And then if Anthony Joshua has really impressed Turkey al-Sheikh with 2 big wins, which Fury definitely didn't do against Ngannou, it does feel like it's there to be made.
I get what you're saying, and I'm glad that you brought up the point that Filip Hrgovic has been IBF mandatory for a while now, obviously, and it seemed, I think I read a report saying the IBF are literally going to mandate for stripping of the titles because obviously there's a contractual rematch that you talked about beforehand. So when you explain it like that, actually, I see the avenue, but I just don't know if after all the bartering and public negotiations for a rematch, if Team Usyk are just going to be happy to step aside. Now, obviously, if their man takes a lot of punishment and is unfit to fight and needs to recover, then obviously that would probably be the best thing for them to do, and especially if they're going to be offered money to step aside. But you got me chopping and changing, mate, right here with my thoughts.
if it's tight, if there's any aggravation or issues, a dodgy scorecard, then definitely have a rematch. And if no one's too damaged, try and get it on fast. These things, I know fighters talk about winning 12-week camps and needing stuff. We saw about how AJ took the Wally fight. We saw about how quickly Fury's turned around from a bad cut to taking this fight. When the money's right and the powerful person tells you when you want something to happen, they get it done.
That's true.
So I do think that if there is a conclusive winner who has the 4 belts, I think there is more chance of AJ getting that shot than there is of a rematch now.
I agree with you, but will that happen in 2024? That the time-wise, that's the thing, because you touched on it, camps. Most boxers like to do around 12 weeks, although you have somewhat truncated camps nowadays. Wall-in fight was 5 weeks.
Yes, notice.
And
2 weeks off.
Yeah, and Fury's basically doing an 10 to 8 week camp for this one, this second one. So,
but there's also a little bit of a fallacy when I hear certain fighters say, I want to be active, I want to have loads more fights. There is a reason why certain fighters fight twice a year.
Yeah.
It's because you make it a huge pay-per-view event. Certain fighters wouldn't sell out Wembley and Tottenham and do 1 million pay-per-view buys if they fought 3, 4, 5 times. So it isn't that they need long camps, and it's that they quite rightly earn the right to make their fights huge events. And you can't have the Wimbledon Tennis Championships every 3 months, because people won't care. So, so I do believe that these guys, if Turki Al Sheikh and the Saudi Arabians do say, you've got no cuts, you weren't really damaged, can you be ready in 3 months? I think suddenly these guys who need 6 months off, I think they can turn it around.
I mean, if Turkey's offering me that type of money, mate, I'll turn around tomorrow, right? Yeah. I'd step in the ring with AJ, but you knock my block off in 2 seconds. But no, I completely understand what you're saying. Obviously Saudi Arabia, we all know the human rights issues and whatever, but they've well and truly changed the combat sports game. And as you said, their fighters are willing to turn around at the drop of a dime now to secure these life-changing paydays. I mean, look at Jai Opetaia vacated his IBF cruiserweight title just to be on the Day of Reckoning card. Mm-hmm. So
and he's now fighting for it in the next fight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I see what you're saying. But it's just that the turnaround. The potential turnaround, and the fact that Team Usyk were adamant of having this rematch, and they're very, very principled people. And you'll know that with your dealings with them. And I just don't see, with those two things combined, I just don't see it happening in 2024.
If Fury comes through Usyk clearly, whether that be a unanimous decision or a stoppage, and AJ is ringside, and the fight gets made, how do you think that their current form, how do you think that fight plays out?
Oh. And I love that you're asking me this after deriding me for my picking of...
You got the result right.
Yeah, I got the result right, but I knew I was in trouble when after AJ did the first feint and first level change, and Ngannou was trying to parry like he was playing whack-a-mole. I knew I was in trouble there. But how do I foresee the fight playing out? I mean, I don't know. I've always been a strong believer that Anthony Joshua has the tools to beat Tyson Fury, to give Tyson Fury the toughest night of his career. It's just whether he can mentally dial in. Obviously, he seems to be well and truly mental dialing nowadays. 4 wins on the bounce, won his last 3 by stoppage. Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's Hellenius, Wall-in, and then Francis emphatically. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think at this moment in time, and I don't want to sound like a casual by saying this, but you kind of have to favor Anthony Joshua, because obviously you go off their most recent displays, and Tyson Fury, like, I know he obviously took Francis Ngannou very, very lightly, but that was one of his most lackluster performances that we've seen.
Yeah.
And coupled with the belief, I mean, I don't necessarily think his resume is as good as everybody says, because yes, he beat the hardest hitting heavyweight 3 times technically. I know the first one was a draw. Yes, he beat him 3 times, but people will say that, but then on the other hand, they'll say that Deontay Wilder is the most one-dimensional heavyweight there's ever been.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm actually going to put my neck on the line, and I might even look into the camera and say, say this. I think Anthony Joshua beats Tyson Fury. I think so.
I also think there is a curveball that it could happen in this country.
You think?
Yeah. For the same reason that when we talked about optics, Fury and Ngannou in that Kingdom Arena was sold out, 28,000 people. And don't get me wrong, the atmospheres are different. There isn't alcohol, there isn't football chants, and you don't get, guys on the undercard like Johnny Fisher or Florian Marku, Albanian crowds, Romford crowds who are cheering for their man Nathan Heaney's. You don't have that. But there are oohs and ahs, and there were boos for Bivol Lindenau for not being excited enough. There were boos for Wilder. But it was... I do think that maybe they will look at it, and I think they'll start doing shows in this country anyway, because the time difference works for them. And I think if they are interested in pushing the Riyadh season and the country, it's all very well having these football finals and World Cups and Grand Prix in their own country, but the atmospheres aren't great. Well, perhaps they're not. They're not great.
What we're used to.
They're not what they're used to, and on television, luckily, I've been at the shows, but my friends from home are telling me that when you're watching it on TV and it's silent, it's bizarre.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I see people say, "Oh, the fighters can't be happy." These are prize-fighting men who are risking their lives. They're doing it for money, which is what they are right. But so I do think that there is that potential that if they get the undisputed in Saudi Arabia, that maybe they branch out. And I honestly wouldn't rule out the idea that for what it would do for this kind of everyone would have to be part of it. The BBC would have to push it and be part of it. Turkey's already put in the shows on DAZN, Sky and TNT, which is unprecedented really, because that's usually stumbling block number one. He's already making Eddie and Frank hold hands. Hold hands, make friends, and then fight each other. So I wouldn't rule it out, because I do think an all-English, and it would be an undisputed heavyweight world title fight, having that on in an arena in Saudi Arabia would be, English fans would be good. But I think if they can be the organisation that puts that on at Wembley Arena, 90,000 people, all the broadcasters, all the newspapers, all the critics, they will have to talk about it. They will have to speak highly of the event, and. Yeah, there's certain people that do have criticisms that they're still going to have to carry this event. So I wouldn't be surprised, and maybe I'm completely getting ahead of myself, but I do honestly think that if it's an all-English heavyweight world title undisputed fight, I wouldn't rule out it happening here, simply because of how incredible it would be. It would be almost like having a World Cup final here.
It would be. And
I think it would definitely be in their mind that the time difference is right for them. The optics would be incredible, and the advertising, it would be celebrating their brand and celebrating their country, and it would be doing it in an incredible atmosphere, which we haven't quite had over there. So don't rule it out, son.